It's time for us to do the company that is most requested of me to do for Trucking History Sunday. And I put it off for a while, and I'm glad I did. I'll tell you why. Because I was able to date this company through mergers, acquisitions, hostile takeovers, the whole way back to 1927. I'm talking about Landstar. Most people will say, no, they started in 88. Landstar did, but I can date the company back way farther than that. So I put off doing the Landstar story for a while for a few reasons. One, I'm into all trucking history, you know, and I am leased to Landstar. And quite frankly, when I looked into their story, I didn't really think that it was all that interesting. You know, there's not one great man that started Landstar or anything like that. But as I got into it, and I'm glad I waited, because certain names of different companies started coming up that I've already done history videos on. And through this, I was actually able to date back a history of companies coming up through the years. It actually dates back. Landstar can date back to Pacific Intermountain Express, or PI. Now, I'm not going to go into all that because I've already done the PI story. So I encourage you to watch this story. And, you know, if you want to see how this company dates back that far, it's pretty interesting. It also has, there's also a couple connections to a couple other companies that I found pretty interesting, or investors that were involved in other companies. And yeah, just a great story. So yeah, at the end of this, I am going to talk a bit because people have asked about it. I will talk a bit about my feelings about Landstar, about being an owner-operator here, and you know, just how I feel about the company and things like that. So people have asked about it, so I will include that at the end. But let's get started with the history. So in 1988, a company called Neoax, or Neox, I don't know, N-E-O-A-X, an industrial services company in Stamford, Connecticut, acquired IU International by hostile takeover. So IU International was a company that owned quite a few other trucking companies. Now, if you did go back and watch the PI video, you'll understand what that connection is now. Ryder, PI, all them. That's the connection. But so Neoax, and I hope I'm saying that right. Luckily, I don't have to say it too much. They sold one of the companies, and they shut down one of them. So they now owned heavy haul company Ligon from Madisonville, Kentucky, Pull Truck Lines, a short haul company from Evergreen, Alaska, also the only company to own its own trucks. Ranger Transportation of Jacksonville, Florida, the only unionized company specializing in just-in-time. Independent Freightway of Rockford, Illinois, a flatbed company, would later become known as Inway. And Gemini Transport of Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and they were a intermodal container company. So Landstar System was formed in 1988 to purchase the IU group from Neoax for $94 million and $16 million in stock. And Neoax still owned 49% of the company. So at that time, Jeffrey Crow was named president and CEO. He had formerly run the, which one did he run? Independent Freightway, so Inway, in Rockford. So then in 1991, Neoax had a new owner, I guess because that's how that worked, those companies are passed around, called EnviroSource. They sold its 49% interest to Landstar for $12 million. And Landstar took over $70 million in debt. Now here's the connection to ABF, and I'm not sure if I can do a second one up here, but if not, just go look at my ABF video, Bullfrog. Kelso and Company was now the controlling shareholder. They were also involved in American Standard and IHOP. Is Kelso Company still involved? Because I feel like I should be getting IHOP discounts if they are. Anyway, I'll worry about that with management. Yeah, so, but Kelso and Company was actually, excuse me, the company that helped ABF out of a hostile takeover. They were the angel investor that came in and basically pulled them out of a hostile takeover in what I consider one of the most awesome management moves I've ever seen in any trucking company. So if you go watch that ABF video, yeah, you'll see some of that. It says that Kelso was also involved in many other trucking companies, and I never thought that I would be looking into an investment firm, but I think I am going to look into them and what they've done over the years as far as trucking goes, because it seems like a big part of their business. Like I said, they were an angel investor for ABF. I believe without them, ABF would not exist anymore. But yeah, you definitely want to see that video. After that deal went through, Jeffrey Crow became the chairman of the board. Jeffrey Crow's emphasis was always placed on safety, and it's a practice that still is Landstar's motto now. You know, we have Safety Thursday conference calls. A lot of companies are involved in a lot of things like this with safety, but Landstar always puts a big emphasis on it still. You know, we have safety meetings all the time. I mean, anytime you're at any kind of event they're at, Mid-America Truck Show or anything, they'll do safety meetings. They also have a very stringent inspection policy. Every 4 months, trucks and trailers have to be inspected. Yeah, so it's still a big part of what Landstar believes in. And in 1993, they issued their initial public offering, and it took in $30.3 million, and all of it went to pay off debt. And because of this, management's focus was able to switch from finance to operations and acquisitions. So in 1994 and 95, Landstar purchased TLC Lines, a long-haul carrier from St. Clair, Missouri, and 2 Dublin, California companies, Intermodal Transport and LDS Truck Line. So in 1995, Landstar also bought Express America Freight Systems from Charlotte, North Carolina, to form Landstar Express America, a division that still exists today. In 1996, Landstar changed the name of Intermodal Transport to Landstar ITCO, and apparently very quickly changed it to Landstar Logistics Incorporated. So in 1997, they merged TLC with Inway and sold off TLC's company-owned trucks. Then let's go back. For some reason we go back. 1995, Landstar profited $25 million on $1.2 billion in revenue. So Landstar then decided to sell off their lowest performing company, which was Landstar Pool. They sold it in 1998 to Snyder National for $41 million. And at this point, I believe it was at this point that Landstar now owned no company trucks. They were a full-on owner-operator company, or non-asset-based company, as they refer to themselves now. And but in June of 1997, Landstar relocated to Jacksonville, Florida, where 3 of its companies were already based. Thank God. I would hate to have to go to headquarters in Connecticut. I don't hate Connecticut. I just don't want to drive in Connecticut. So at this time in after Pool was sold off, Landstar was at the time the only publicly traded company to rely totally on contractors. I don't know if they still are or not. I know there's Mercer, Bennett, which I believe Bennett owns some trucks. Ace Duran doesn't. I just did a story on Ace Duran last week. But in late 1999, Landstar moved to what is called the Crystal Palace, a 5-story, 181,000 square foot building. And I've been there, and actually the Crystal Palace wasn't on the history list that I got, but I know that they call it that. I don't know where it came from, except it looks like a Crystal Palace. It is an awesome building. I have some pictures on Facebook. I got to go back, make sure I can find them, but you're probably looking at them right now if I did find it. Pretty awesome building. So in 2003, while other trucking companies were struggling due to the economy, Landstar profited $50.7 million on $1.6 billion in revenue. And this is because of its BCO business model. So I haven't actually talked about the BCO thing yet. Owner-operators at Landstar are called BCOs, or business capacity owners. And yeah, so in 2004, Henry H. Gerkens was named as CEO, replacing longtime CEO Jeffrey Crow. And then it jumps. Apparently not a whole lot happened there over the next couple of years. In 2013, Landstar really stepped up its game of safety and professionalism by signing BCO Rob Finch. How'd that get in there? Huh. So in January of 2014, Landstar sold its National Logistics Management subsidiary to XPO Logistics for $87 million. I was there when it happened. I'd only been here about a year. I don't remember any changes coming from it. For those of you that were here long before that and afterwards, you can tell me if you noticed a change. I know when it happened, everybody was saying, you know, basically XPO was now going to run Landstar and ruin the company, and you know, pretty soon we'll all have XPO on the side of the trucks, and none of that happened, and I never really saw a difference. But I do remember when all that went through. Later on in 2014, Jim Gattoni, a 19-year veteran at LS, I believe he was CFO. I believe he was Chief Financial Officer before this. Took over as CEO. And actually Jim Gattoni was CEO until recently, and for pretty much my whole career here, he was the CEO. I did meet Henry Gerkens in early 2014, and then later that year, you know, he stepped down. Seems to be like a 10-year thing here, because Jim Gattoni just stepped down this year. But I'll get to that. In 2022, Landstar was listed on Forbes Fortune 500 list for the first time at number 491 after a $6.5 billion 2021. In 2023, they were number 489 after a $7.4 billion 2022. I'm interested to see with the, you know, the hits the trucking economy has taken here lately, and you know, 2023 was a pretty bad year for trucking. I'm hoping they can hold on to that. Well, I'm interested to see if that happens, and if it does happen, I kind of want an explanation how the truck drivers are doing so bad, but the company's hanging on there. You know, to the Forbes Fortune 500 list. Yeah, that would be interesting to know. So earlier this year, 2024, Frank Lenegro, who's actually an outsider, took over the CEO position at Landstar. He does have a long history in transportation, and I believe a long history in intermodal. A little bit scary to see something like that when an outsider comes in, especially for a company with such a unique business model. But I mean, the board hired him, so you know, he must have been the right guy for the job, or at least we hope so. I don't know much about him yet. It's still pretty new, but you know, Frank Lenegro, if you see it, welcome to the team. We're all you know, looking forward to see what happens in the future. As of the most recent information that I could find, which I believe is pretty close to up to date, in a list of largest transportation companies in the world by market cap, Landstar ranks number 65. Now that's not trucking, that is anything transportation. That's airlines, it's FedEx, UPS, it's you know, Delta Airlines, it's shipping containers, you know, big shipping container companies, or moving by barge. Overall transportation, Uber's even on the list, which I don't know, Uber claims that they're not a transportation company, but anyway, number 65 is where Landstar ranks. They are the 7th largest trucking company in the United States. I say that the list that I had showed them as number 8, but it also showed YRC Worldwide as number 5. And so to me, that means that as far as that information goes, Landstar is the 7th largest. And they're the 2nd largest flatbed and heavy haul specialized carrier in the United States. Number 1 is a company called Denise. They're a parent company to a whole bunch of other companies: Landstar, Wiley, TSH, Tennessee Steel Haulers, just a whole bunch of other companies that they own. Is number 1, and Landstar actually only is behind in them in overall revenue by about $16,000 from what I saw, if that number was correct from what I saw. It also shows that Landstar is about 40% higher than number 3, which is PS Logistics. So that was pretty interesting to find out. So guys, now people wanted to know, my opinion of Landstar, how I feel about, being a BCO here, things like that. So I'll get into that a little bit. All right, so I actually love being a Landstar BCO, and I'm going to get a lot of trolls and people say I've already gotten so much stuff. When I started the flatbed stuff, you can't make money at Landstar. Landstar rips you off, this and that. Okay. I've been here 11 years, just short of 11 years, and I've been pretty happy here. The initial sign-on process will make you have second thoughts. It is horrible getting signed on here. We know that they are picky about, history, safety, things like that, but the overall process, I mean, don't buy a truck and then try to lease on. Get it out of the way, get your qualifications and stuff done ahead of time, or while you're going through the buying a truck process. And don't leave a carrier and think that you're going to call up Landstar and be pulling a load the next day. I would say give it a month. I'm not saying it's going to take that long, but when people say it takes about 2 weeks to sign on, that's not always true. I remember the process was so tedious, just back and forth and third party company handling this and then handing this over to Landstar and then coming back. Again, very tedious process. It may be worth it sticking it out. For me, it was worth it. I like the company now. I've actually said to people many times, if I had to deal with Landstar every day on a regular basis, I wouldn't have lasted a month. Sometimes you sit on hold. It's just, it's corporate stuff, and the problem is we're owner-operators, so we are not really wanting to deal with the corporate situation. But we actually deal with Landstar very little, and that's the business model. We get our loads from independent agents, and we're independent, and the only time we really call or anything is if we have a problem or need to switch something or want information on something. It's not all that often. The last time I talked to somebody from Landstar was last Monday. Somebody called me up just about a question with a bill of lading that I sent in, and yeah, so there's that. Yeah, it's just, it's hard when we are independent-minded people and small company-minded people, because we are all small companies, when we have to deal with people on a corporate level. Now, other people will say the percentage is too high. They start out at a base. If you come in with just a truck, they take 65%. And people say that's too high. It's actually 65%, and another 7% is for the trailer of theirs that you're using. So you're actually getting 72%. And if you buy a trailer, you will get 72%. That's a basic dry van. There's more if it's a reefer, if you choose to be part of the reefer division. The flatbed, I believe, I get 8% more, so I'm at 73%. Now, if you're a flatbed driver here, which I lease my trailer from my friend Mark, as I've said many times, but you can lease a trailer through Landstar, and I believe starts at $195 a week, I've heard. but then you're actually getting the bigger percentage, and you usually should be making more than what that trailer lease is. Or just go buy your own. That also goes up with extra axles as you add axles. I haven't really gotten into that yet, so I don't know. So also, you know, last year, I really struggled a lot last year. It was a horrible year for me, as it was for so many other truck drivers. And during that time, there were so many, you know, people I was reading, you know, why isn't Landstar, you know, paying us more or giving us a bigger percentage to help us out during these hard times? Read your contract. You know, when the rates were real high, you know, during COVID, 2020, 2021, I don't remember anybody getting online and saying, hey, I should probably give a bigger percentage to Landstar so that they can hang on to it for when times are bad. So this is the contract. Landstar is not a hand-holding company. They will help you through things. I realized last year, you know, when things weren't going so good, that I was not utilizing all the tools that were available to me through Landstar. Basically, I was resting on what had worked for so long, and I needed to reacquaint myself with the tools and options and availability that they had. At the same time, I was very bored with my career, and this was when I decided to do flatbed. It's a move I really love. I love the workout. I love the you know, the thinking about the securement and the you know, questioning everything, the cool loads, the cool places you go. But in getting into that, then I also, you know, use some of the other resources that they have. As now I'm changing to new agents, you know, because the flatbed, you know, agents tend to be stuck with flatbed or dry van. Some of them do both, but I had to acquaint myself with new agents and things like that. There's certain tools that we have that allowed me to better do that, and it's yeah, Landstar is not for everybody. There is no one-size-fits-all in trucking. There definitely isn't a one-size-fits-all in being an owner-operator. If you think there is, let me go put on a one-size-fits-all t-shirt and see how it works. You know, there's just different things here, and it's not for everybody. A lot of people make it work very good. A lot of people can't make it work. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you or you know, anything like that. Just everybody is different. We are all business owners, you know, on different levels. And for me, Landstar works. I'm not going to say I'll be here forever, because things change in this world. You never know what will happen. But as of right now, I don't see leaving. So, yeah. I'm sure I'll get all kinds of comments about this video, and I do love the comments. I'm sure there's a whole bunch I'm not going to like. You know, if your brother's dog's mother's sister, you know, heard something about Landstar, you know, it doesn't matter. Yeah, this is the history, the way I saw it, and it's my opinion of Landstar and how I like working here. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to do a little bit of a shout out here, because there's at least two people that I know have been in Landstar management for years and years. I believe both of them were here before there was a Landstar. And I'm talking about Greg Nelson, who is he's the vice president of BCO retention, very appropriately. He's a lot of fun. And Dan Workman is the head of heavy haul. I believe I've heard that both of them were here for a long time. So if they ever want to correct anything, like I said, I just summed up, you know, this company in a matter of, you know, a couple minutes here. And, you know, I'd love to hear if there's stuff that I missed, or maybe I got something wrong. It's history the way it was presented to me and the things that I could find online. So guys, thanks a lot, and thanks for watching this. Like, subscribe, comment. Like I say, I do read all the comments. If you don't want to comment, you can always email me. It's at it is finchresources@gmail.com. Finch, like the bird, it's my last name. And you can also reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. I do a lot more on Facebook. I don't do too much with Instagram, but I can be found on either of them under Trucking Resources. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one.